It's Pipi time, Pipi time. Lempicka's never over 'cause it's Pipi time. Hi, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Sarah.
And welcome to a special serious episode of Pipi Time with our returning guest, the one and only Eden Espinosa. Yeah!
Serious, guys.
It's serious. Oh, sorry.
Serious.
Eden
I'm just kidding. Hi.
I will recap for our listeners. We have talked to a lot of people since the last time we talked to you, and we have gathered little bits and pieces of stories that we would love to just talk about and put a little more context into.
I love that.
So the first one that so many people have talked about is the
So many being two people.
so many. That's fight a nickel.
That's a lot.
The song Blue.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. We don't know much about
Blue.
it.
Go. Okay. Well, Blue didn't exist until we were in rehearsals for Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say I think we were in previews in La Jolla, and I remember I don't remember exactly the timeline. It must have been previews, but it was all of a sudden I had heard that the next day they wanted to put in Unseen.
Mm-hmm.
And now I had performed Unseen once for a lab. It had existed in previous versions, a little bit different, but it had pretty much existed. And I was familiar with it because I had listened to those demos and because I learned it for a lab that we did after Williamstown.
Mm.
And Matt, being my friend and being a good human all around, gave me a heads up. He was like, I think tomorrow they're going to tell you that we want to try Unseen. So he sent me all the demos to like re-familiarize, but I basically re-familiarized it in rehearsal and then learned, and then when it went in that night. When we came back from the break and we found out we were going to Broadway, there was a new opening number called Blue, and it started at the bench. And in early versions, like Old Tomorrow was like blue, no white. Like It started with that blue, no white. There's something I never got right. My hand cramps, and so yeah. It was about, the kind of running out of time and never getting it right and wanting to get things right. And it sort of like talked about the wedding a little bit. It talked about her. It talked about him. It talked a little bit about Marinetti. It kind of was like going over her important people in her life. And it was like a beautiful sweeping, like the melody is just stunning.
That's what everyone has said, that they couldn't stop thinking about the melody.
Yeah, it was just very haunting, and I think that we tried it for a long time. And I mean,
also
we tried it almost our entire rehearsal process, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's cut. And then it was, we're starting with the wedding. And then it was, that's not working either. So let's put back Unseen. So yeah, Blue is one of those, like, honestly, I've said this to people before, and I think I might have said it in my previous Pipi Time visit, that Matt and Carson have written some amazing pieces that have never seen the light of day. And by that meaning an audience. Like there's literally so many albums worth, like maybe 3 or 4. There's just songs that like, oh man, remember that? Oh. And Blue is one of those. Blue is definitely one of them.
And then Sarah, would you like to also ask the other?
Yeah, another thing that got cut from Williamstown was the pool.
Yes.
Speaking of things that made it through lots of rehearsal and then never an audience.
Yeah.
Correct. It was tech, and that was one tech, and that was it.
Oh, just one?
Yeah. One
Water.
day.
Oh.
But the pool still exists from what I hear. And it stayed underneath. And after a while, like the stage started bubbling a tiny bit because the water was still under there. Yeah, this was see, there's so many versions that swirl around, but there is in an older version of Act Two is completely different. Now you remember, oh yeah, we can say that you've seen it, right? Okay, you've seen the Williamstown production, so it's like the grind. Top of Act Two shows Tamara like going through all of this, like staying up late, going to social events, trying to juggle Tadeusz and Rafaela and cocaine and parties and commissions and all this whole thing, like over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. And then like she goes out on the town, one of these nights with Rafaela, and she wants to jump in the water. Rafaela does, and Tamara's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then she's like, come on, live just once, like da da da. And so, yeah, we got undressed on stage into our, in these undergarments and jumped in the pool in the middle of the stage.
And was your hair wet for the rest of the show?
No, because that was one of my questions actually. Like, how are we going to do this with wigs? And it wasn't extremely deep, so you were able to keep your head up. But then we were supposed to change out of the wet clothes into dry clothes on stage with people like holding these things up, and we tried the whole thing around like 3 times in tech, and you can't take wet clothes off and then put dry clothes on wet skin in a hurry at all.
No.
So we tried, and then the next day when we came to work, they said we're not going to do the pool, and now it's like the pieces of fabric. Yeah,
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it would. I mean, it's a great idea. It would have been.
Oh, it's lovely.
Would have been so super cool.
Oh, Godspell. Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with the production of Godspell that was in a pool?
Oh, I just heard about that recently. It was just recently, right?
Yeah.
When I saw it.
How was it?
So good.
Amazing. I think my friend Shayna was in it.
Shayna Blass?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What a queen.
Also our best friend.
That is true. Canonically. Back to the serious.
Okay,
so serious. Is there a moment that you particularly connected with that was lost?
Yeah, there's a lot. I think the original wedding, I loved.
Yeah.
Moments of that. The moments that I like grieve for the most are character driven, like relationship driven, right. When you get into those things. So like when you spend it's still very short, but you spend a little more time with Tamara and Tadeusz in that opening where they get to just be young and
nice to each
free
other,
and in love and hopeful. Yes, and nice to each other. I miss the grind. I do. I think that was a good storytelling moment. They're all moments, I think, that like I feel if I'm just comparing like Williamstown to Broadway, they're all moments where we started telling more story about what's happening around Tamara instead of what's actually happening to her.
That's so interesting, because the next question we were going to ask is that, did you feel like you lost Tamara on the journey to Broadway? And like when, if you did feel.
Yeah, I mean, I lost a version of her.
Yeah.
Right. There was just so much more time with, instead of commenting, for example, where here it is, here it comes was spinning on, it was the number was all about, how can I keep this all together? How can I have everything that I want? It's falling apart. I can't let it fall apart. And here it is, here it comes is also a great number, but it's not about Tamara. It's about what's happening around her.
Interesting. And then Perry in the second act.
Same, not about her. It's little blips of, let's catch you up on what's been happening. It's about the world. It's about what's happening politically in that climate. And then it's like, okay. And she did the exhibition, times are changing for women, and women are, we're voting, we're wearing pants, but so it equally as, one's not better than the other. It's just, it's completely different. Yeah.
Definitely that difference. Of Williamstown was more like about Tamara and her relationships, and Broadway was kind of more about what was happening just at that time, and Tamara is who we're following along.
Yeah. And little teeny transitional things of like explaining why she kept the bracelets, explaining every time myself, those little moments of inside her mind.
And I think that's why like Lempicka fans found Williamstown so interesting, because it was like, this is a character that we really resonate with, and now we have so much more information about her.
Sure. I mean, even oh my gosh, why can't I think of it? In place of I Will Paint Her.
Stillness?
No.
Oh, in place of
Tamara's I Want song. Tamara's
I wouldn't know the name of any of those songs.
I always dreamed of never be sad. What is that song called? Burn It Up.
Oh, yes.
I'm never gonna like.
To me, that's more.
I miss, like, I'm not gonna say I would want that in place of I Will Paint Her, but it does give you more insight into how she's feeling, as opposed to a little section of Paris. Going, you know what I mean?
The exchange in Wake Up, with the exchange, it's so much more like you understand I have so many words. In Wake Up, it's like he's like whining and complaining, oh, I have to get a job. But in the exchange, he's like, I have to trade my whole life for this new life that I don't want.
Yeah. And you see him make the decision.
Struggling.
Yeah.
Whereas in Wake Up, he's just unemployed and bummed. Yeah.
And I think they were trying to, I mean, Tadeusz has always been a tough character.
Yeah.
And I think Andrew found a way, as complainy as he is, like, he still found a way to make him accessible, like, instead of just completely, writing him off. And I think that's always been an issue. He's just unpleasant. All they do is fight, And so I think they were trying to like soften him up. But and then I don't know if any of you were at the preview where they put a version of the exchange back in for like 3 shows, or like 2 or 3 shows, and then which didn't work anymore because we've already taken all the other stuff out. It became a bit of like, let's try to make a Jenga tower that is literally wobbling on 2 pieces. If we take this out, like, we got to take a whole bunch of other things and you know what I mean? So they tried it, and Andrew was a very good sport, and like, oh gosh, and to be fair, he did voice like, this doesn't make sense for this version of Tadeusz anymore. And that's part of the thing that's difficult about our job, is like, we have to do it. I mean, we have to try to make it make sense.
You're doing so good at this. That was our next, is how much say do you have in Tamara as a character, and how much say do you have in the show in general?
Not much. I mean, I think that like, here's a lesson that I learned, is like, I will be more vocal moving forward when I've given that much time and energy and development to a piece. And I think in a situation like that, I think you're 100% in your And you're right to say, I don't feel safe. I don't feel comfortable putting this in tonight. Definitely, I think they would. Amber and I did that for a scene. And we were like, we can't put this in tonight. Like, please just give us like a day or, so yeah, in that scenario, they will, I mean, hopefully they will be respectful enough, and our creative team definitely were. They would listen, and we would have conversations about everything. Ultimately, it's not our decision. I mean, so Rachel and Matt and Carson and Raja, they created a very open forum environment. So that's always nice to feel like you're being heard. But that doesn't mean it will happen. Because it's not our show. I mean, it's our show to an extent, but it's not our creation.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel like you had a lot of freedom with the direction?
In what way do you mean?
Just like with how you played Tamara, and I mean, especially because every show you kind of would do a different thing for different moments. Was that like you were allowed to do that, allowed to play?
Yeah, I think, yeah. And I think that's just about an actor's approach. Like some people figure out what their character is, and this is what I do every single time. Which is not helpful for me because I feel different every day.
Right.
And something could go wrong, or but yeah, I think Rachel was always very game to have us play and discover. And if things got too off the mark, we would definitely have a conversation about it, or she would give us a note about it. But yeah, I think one of Rachel's superpowers is she casts really smart actors that she trusts. And so there's rarely a moment where she won't let you find it.
Yeah.
She's not a this is how I want you to do it. She'll say something so that you can find your way there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the rehearsal room.
Yeah.
From Broadway, because I guess there was such a big jump from La Jolla to Broadway as far as like the content of the show. And so we're trying to fill in blanks about, how much commercial appeal versus the artistic integrity. And once it was Broadway bound, and like producers, how much say do producers have, and just kind of what went on from La Jolla to Broadway from more of like a business point of view.
So, do you watch Hacks?
I do. I'm not caught up in this current season, but I have watched the first 2 episodes of this season.
Okay, I don't remember if it was in one of those, but they were talking about the demographics. Oh, did you see the episode Steven was in?
No.
Okay. Okay, well, in that one, they talk about the demographics, and like they really try and play hard into those demographics and trying to like get specifically them. And so I wonder if that, piggybacking off of what Lauren was saying, if that also kind of played into like the changes, if you were trying to reach, not you specifically, but the creative team and everyone was trying to reach a very particular like demographic.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't have an exact answer.
Yeah.
I think producers do have a say because, it's their financial risk. To comment on how much say they have, I think it's different in every production, and I don't know exactly for ours. But they were very, they've been championing this piece forever, and they were very involved. They were at rehearsals all the time. And so very accessible to us, as far as what we needed, if we felt like we were being taken care of and everything. But as far as how much say they had for this, I don't exactly know. You know, I do know over the years that it was, the notes were always, it's too long. Even from like readings, even from Williamstown. I think that was a feedback that was a common note from people. And to be honest with you, I mean, I've learned after working with Rachel for, when was that? 18. So like 7 years. I learned like she's very much an iteration director. Like she'll do a versions of, like, you know, Hadestown had like a millions different versions before it came here. But the truth is, like, the pendulum swing, like from Williamstown to reading, you know, the different labs that we did, and then from La Jolla then to Broadway. Like, I don't know why they went from one extreme. I don't know why we didn't keep things that were working. I know always the length, like I said, was an issue. Truncating things was an issue. And then, you know, I just think that over time, you know, when you get also new people involved, they have opinions too, meaning new cast members and stuff. And so, you know, over the years, if people are having ideas for their characters and their characters get more developed, then it's harder to really know what exactly all the threads are. And, you know, it's like, yeah, we've touched on it before with, if it's like a Les Mis, or are we doing Evita, where, you know, are we doing like, yes, there's a central person in Les Mis, but the other people have like big standout moments, and it's more of an ensemble piece. And then, you know, Evita is, you're following her the entire time, and there's little things, but she's the, you know, it's hard to know why. And I will ask, like, eventually one day, I want to know, like, why did we take such big swings, you know?
I mean, I think we will. We're trying to get Matt.
Yeah.
We're trying to get Matt and Carson on to do.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I would love that.
Yeah, if you've got any questions.
I mean, that is a big one. That is a big one. I'm just like, I don't, you know, especially, I mean, I knew we needed work in Williamstown, but like Ben Brantley, like the biggest, like, person to please, the hardest person to please, like, told us like we were, you know, the one. And so it's hard to know, like, so from that, why did we?
Especially Williamstown is so different.
It really is. It really,
like,
really
is.
is.
La Jolla was kind of like a stepping from one to the other, but if you just take in those two, that's, you're right, opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yes. And you know, in years past, even like before Rachel got involved as the director, there are very different versions there too.
How did you feel about like the sustainability of the role and of this show, and how like kind of difficult it was?
I don't think it was sustainable.
Yeah.
I don't, it's interesting because I would like to, again, it was such a learning experience for me, and didn't realize like how my nervous system was so out of whack and in fight or flight. And so now that I feel actually like a completely different person, I have thought about, oh man, I wonder what it would be like to revisit it, the feeling how I feel now, and knowing my nervous system so well now, and having the tools to regulate and to say no, and to advocate for myself for things like this. So, but I don't think it's sustainable, even for the most skilled, healthy person. I don't think anyone should have to do that much work. You know, and it wasn't quite a heavy of a lift before. There were moments that Tamara wasn't on stage. And I think, you know, over time, if something got askew and they were like, well, it's not really making sense, so let's just have Eden watching the scene happening so they know what's you know what I mean?
And then that takes away your break.
Correct. So there were scenes that I didn't really need to be in, but in order for it to make sense, they would put me in and I'd be watching when I'm like, which is, sometimes more difficult than actually being engaged, being in the scene, because you have to be engaged, but yeah, I don't think it was sustainable at all. And I think that about a lot of roles, and I've done my share of very, very difficult roles. And of course, they were when I was younger and such, but I was just talking to a group of friends the other day of like the scope of what people are required to do today is getting harder and harder, and the treatment of humans it's getting worse and worse. And it's just, and then it starts, well, she's calling out a lot. Well, yeah, she's calling out a lot. Yeah, they're calling out a lot because people have lives outside of these 8 shows a week. And that should tell you something, that, and these are like perfectly trained, healthy people. It's just not, I don't want to be like, it's not fair, but it's,
I mean, yeah.
But I also, that's why I say so many times, like, from now on, I want to be able to, and I want other people to be able to have agency over what they're willing to do 8 times a week. And if it's, well, you have to do it or you leave the job, then leave the job. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't the case with me and Lempicka at all.
No.
But
do you think it's worth having like covers and standby, like have like, the Mandy Gonzalez situation?
I think it's worth looking at.
Yeah.
100%, especially for roles like that. I don't think that's the sentence that I said. 8 shows a week with the way that roles are being written now is not, it's not sustainable. And I think people are suffering and hurting inside, or their personal lives are suffering and hurting. And, there's a lot of sacrifice and compromise that is unnecessary to have an alternate.
Yeah.
Do you think that part of that, like that feeling of fight or flight and your nervous system, not doing good, was kind of being like the face of the show, the name of the show?
Yeah, it was a lot of things. I mean, my personal life had blown up around the same time we started rehearsals. I felt a pressure of like, okay, this is it. I haven't been on Broadway in 15 years. Roles like this don't come around for women of a certain age. So I don't know when the next one's going to be. People expect me to sound the same way I did when I was 25. Like there were a lot of things that were self-inflicted. But again, I didn't even have the information or knowledge to identify this is what's going on with me. Yeah. So that's also wild, of like, getting dizzy on stage and almost blacking out, and like having like nauseous, like gaggy, throwing up moments. And like I'm not an anxious person, like, at all. So I think anxiety. I think it was very much at the forefront of a lot.
And to jump on stage and immediately have our time is
listen, there were days this was a separate conversation that I was talking about with another group of friends about 1:00 matinees, breakfast shows.
Crazy.
There were days that I would be on that floor crying, and it was not because I was a good actor.
Yeah.
It was because I was literally like, this is not fun for me.
No,
this
it was
is not
one
fun.
afternoon and you were getting yelled at.
Yeah.
In a circle by so many people.
I know.
As a theater goer, I enjoy a matinee because it's still light outside when you get out.
Yeah.
But it's someone who understands that sucks for the people on stage. I'm sorry.
It's just 1:00 is.
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like that hour would make a big difference, but it does. It
Mhm.
really does.
Is 2 o'clock
Especially,
better?
it's better. Yeah.
Just to have like a matinee cover, have someone do the matinee.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's great
Sure.
for
Or
business
we
too
switch off.
because
Mhm.
Or
then
we
you got to
switch
collect
off.
them all.
Yeah. That's true. Yes.
Is there anything you think would have boosted ticket sales that like we didn't get a chance to employ? Like it was just such a quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, because
I know a
it's
lot.
hard with original musicals now. It really, really is. And, even shows are just not afforded unless they have, a huge studio behind them. And let's be honest, like all the shows right now are not raking in the dough. Like a couple of them are, but a lot of them, and they're the like more popular ones, are the grosses aren't great.
The coaches aren't grossing.
The grosses aren't grossing. Um, so it's like, a show like Death Becomes Her has a huge studio behind it to help it get through sparse moments.
Mhm.
But a completely original musical by an all-female creative team led by Idina Menzel is the same like fate as Lempicka. Like it was a
Mhm.
Almost the same closing date too.
yeah, and it breaks my heart because I know how much they all invested in that, and I know how much Idina loves and champions new work and only really wants to work on new things, and I am similar. I want to develop, but it's like
You
I
can,
don't know
yeah.
if, yeah, it's wild. There's part of me that thinks that because original musicals are so few and far between, and when I mean original, I mean
Like truly.
not based on a familiar IP, that a movie
Mhm.
or a book that we know. It's because it's so difficult. I think that people, and this is just an instinct I have, I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like in the development they're trying so hard to please everybody because the
Mm,
stakes are so high that then they lose their voice, meaning their perspective and their point of view. And
Yeah.
then everything becomes kind of like safe and generalized. Doesn't mean it's not good, doesn't mean it doesn't touch people, doesn't mean that it wouldn't find an audience. But because it is so risky, because it's such a big shot, it's like, let's just throw everything in there to make everyone happy instead of like coming in with a really strong, like,
That's why I think people need to start championing off Broadway and also regional stuff. Um,
yeah,
to people who don't live in New York, like myself, like seeing local theater and who cares if it's not great, or what if it's like it's the best theater you've ever seen and it's like, damn, this would be so cool to see on Broadway. Like Godspell in a pool. Like you wouldn't think a musical in a pool would like be good, but
yeah.
Godspell, it genuinely makes so much sense to have it as like a pool party.
I love that. I wish I
Yeah,
could have seen it.
I have some clips.
Slime tutorials.
Yeah, little ones. That's the only time I've ever recorded in an audience. Just let it be
Okay.
known I'm a good person. Not
Okay.
that I don't, not that I don't watch a bootleg almost, all the time.
Almost all the time. That
Well,
was
theater's
funny.
not accessible, okay.
I
And
know. I agree.
yeah,
I
but I think
agree.
with original works or like trying new things, it's hard to find an audience. And yeah, people need to
Yeah.
champion their communities that aren't just Broadway. That's not the end
Yeah.
all be all.
Correct. I agree. Here, here.
amen. Which, speaking of bold, strong ideas, we listened to your new podcast that came out today,
Yes.
and you talked about Lempicka Eden's version.
Uh-huh.
What would that look like?
No, I want to direct a revival of it for sure.
Would
Have
you
you
bring in, would it be a revival of the Broadway show?
I would speak to whoever I needed to about making some changes. But if I couldn't do that and I had to do, exactly what once was, I would, and there would be, because revivals make changes, don't they?
I
I mean,
was
that is entirely different. Yeah.
Right. But the material is the same.
Okay.
Meaning, would I be able to, I'd have to investigate. Would I
it
be
would be
able
like
to?
horny Oklahoma, where like you take the text and then you flip it so wildly that the text
Yeah.
and supports
Yeah.
wild.
If I couldn't change, I'd still want to direct it.
If you could make an original song for Lempicka, what would it be?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'd give Tammy another I Want song.
A third one.
Yeah. There could be a third act and it's just all I Want songs.
I also would put more with her and Rafaela for sure, and her and Tadeusz, like, because even a new woman, like, there was more in the scene before. There was just more,
I tell you a fact.
Yeah.
I didn't like the new woman until recently.
Yeah,
Interesting.
we're new converts.
What shifted? What made you change your
I
mind?
listened to it on
Both
a
of you.
plane a lot of times.
Oh, I always never had a problem with it. I enjoyed it. It was just Lauren, so I wanted to let you know.
Oh, okay.
Sarah plays this fun joke where sometimes I say a fact and they'll go, I'm gonna tell Eden that.
Oh, do you want to know another one?
No, that's not. No.
Don't betray each other's trust. Tell me later.
You're never gonna talk to me again.
That's not true.
Sure.
Yeah, why did you not like it?
I think as a sapphic, like through the lens, I think until I like really went back and thought about it, I didn't care about Tadeusz at all.
Right.
Because I just like threw him to the side because I was like, oh, I need to know more about these two girls kissing each other.
Sure.
Why is there this song with man when song could be with woman?
Right.
It's about women.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are our big questions. Oh,
when I was making that compilation of every time they say woman or women in the show, I didn't actually count, but I do think that the men say it more. Because like in Perry will always be Perry, Marinetti says it a lot, and in the new woman, Tadeusz says it a lot.
Yeah.
And in woman is, you don't really say woman a lot. You say a lot of other adjectives and verbs, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah, your woman to adjective verb ratio is off.
Well, okay.
Kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy that it's like a year ago. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
like, whoa.
Will be a year
from today.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I haven't really engaged with I've engaged with Lempicka as an idea, but like not the show at all. Like it makes my tummy hurt to like, even when I have to search for clips for like this, I just feel like it happened so fast and we were so front, so it felt so like,
yeah,
I've never gone
fully recovered.
Yeah, or like really worked through anything that happened there. It was kind of just a flip of the craziest emotions, and then it was.
I haven't seen that many. I mean, I've seen people here and there, but the first time we see each other, like I ran into Lauren. This was a while ago, I think before the end of last year. I ran into Lauren at an airport and we were like, hi.
Yeah, like you had both gone through a war.
Yeah, that's right. And we all, whenever we see each other for the first time after having not, it's like, wait, yeah, we did that. It was like war zone, right? Right? And we go like, right? Like, am I crazy? Am I the only one? Like, no, 100%.
Listen, we feel that way.
Yeah.
I think because it almost felt like we were watching something, like, this sounds so harsh, die in real time, and there was nothing to do about it.
Yeah.
Like you kind of just had to find something that like really resonated with you and then watch its like untimely death. And like no one was listening. I always think about Rachel's speech when she was talking at the bar, where she was like, I expected big yeses, I expected big no's, but I didn't expect silence.
And for context, the conversation at the bar, that was the night that they announced the closing and that everyone went to a bar.
Yes, that is the context. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's wild. I've had several moments of like checking in with PTSD, like, you know, or certain things of like, why am I having this reaction? Oh, I'm triggered because, you know, as much as like this season is like abundant with like beautiful work and fun, you know, new things and culturally representative of a lot of things. Like there's so many great things about this season, but like there is still a huge like trigger that makes me angry that Matt and Carson did not get one single nomination.
Yeah, like where was this energy?
In at all. It like for music, like listen, you can literally say whatever you want about the piece. This is what's so beautiful about art. It's subjective. You can think whatever you want. But I'm literally to what Rachel said, it's like, oh, this is deliberate. You've got to be kidding me that the music of everything.
Yeah.
I wanted that more than my Tony nomination.
Right.
After that season, after it going like boom, 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 boom. Are you kidding me? Like that's, you know, and of course, I love our entire creative team. I love the lights. I love the sound. I love the set. I love I love them all and their work. But like, you're going to give those not that like, okay.
Yeah. And we've just spent the last hour talking about like the different plot rearranging, but like something we've never said is like, oh, I wish the music was better. Like,
yes,
like the music is never the issue in any iteration.
Correct.
Like,
correct.
Yeah.
They're bangers. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, oh, something, and I don't know, but there is something you're like, huh?
Well, and that's kind of what we like. That's kind of why we started PP Time Serious, is because we've kind of sat back a little bit and been like, huh? What happened?
Yeah. I mean, there is not a week. No, I have to say it's probably once a week that somebody stops me and talks to me about Lempicka.
Wow.
In the city, it's been at an airport. It's been in other cities where people go tap me on the shoulder and show me their iPhone. And it's this like literally. So I know that and I'm so proud of that. Even like, okay, you don't have to say anything, but it's like, you know, it's a precursor. The music didn't get nomination. I was still hoping for a Grammy nomination because sonically that album sounds and is gorgeous. Produced so well. And even then I was like, wow, it's just all rigged. Talking about rigged elections.
The treatment of based on the treatment of the show, I just had my hopes so low that I was like, well, nothing is gonna happen. And you know, that's not a great like way to think, but
yeah, that is still a source of like hurt for me.
Yeah.
On behalf of them, because the music's glorious, you know, and just a complete shutout.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it's so easy to be like, did it actually happen? Like,
right.
Do that? Like, was I there even?
Yeah. Yeah.
Alas, it was a glorious thing and it happened.
It did. And people are still coming to know it and listening to it and loving it. And it makes me very happy.
Yeah. God bless those 3 bootlegs on YouTube. I hope it ever takes them away.
They're really good. There's one previews.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
and we got Lincoln Center too, so archives there. So, you know, we got some things that a lot of shows don't, that have run longer. So but yeah. But I was like, oh fuck, Redwood, they're the Lempicka of the season. You know, I mean, we got some recognition, you know, but I was just like, dang it, I know that feeling, and I hate it.
You and Adina continue to have parallel careers.
I often am like, when I'm feeling like in a very low vibration moment, I'm like, they should have stunt casted Tamara and cast somebody famous.
Like
then,
you were
then they would have run longer.
Like who?
I don't know. I'm just,
Who could have it been?
I
Yeah.
don't
No one but you. Boom.
know.
Compliment it. Take it.
Yeah.
That I know that a lot of like new information about Tamara was recently like uncovered. Did
Mhm.
that like change the character at all? Like between Williamstown and Broadway, new information was found. Was that
Yeah.
important in the show in any way?
No, I think that like it made me miss other, like I said, like a line here or there about it made me miss certain things where we did know that she lied a lot. Like,
Mhm.
it just like solidified and validated what we had already known. But I was like, oh, even all this time later, we're still finding out that like she had to conceal, don't feel. She had to like tell fibs in order to, or chose to,
Mhm.
in order to, even silly things to get, to get ahead or to get recognition or whatever. But
I mean, like, why did she lie about her age?
well, I think she didn't want to get older.
Yeah,
I think there's a thing with, it's funny because oh man, oh my God, it broke my heart. And in the documentary that
Mhm.
Julie Rubio made, there's a quote in there. She said, I like to have nice things. I'm going to misquote it, but it said something as one day they're not going to talk about me anymore. They're just going to talk about my hat or
Mhm.
something about, as you age, the older you get, the more you disappear, the less valued you are, the less relevant you are, as opposed to it should be the opposite, because the more wisdom you have, more experience you have. But it was a really like poignant quote that just like broke my heart, because I was like, oh my God, there it is.
Mhm.
There it is, which is why she never wanted people to know, because that was her daughter.
And happy Mother's Day to her.
And happy Mother's Day indeed.
how did you navigate like that relationship between Tamara and Cosette in the different versions? Marianne told us there was a version where Tamara and adult Cosette had a song about her mom and not feeling the tumultuous relationship they had.
Yeah, it was like teenage Cosette,
Okay.
and it was about, does she see me when she's painting? It basically would have gone in the scene
Mama,
where,
look at me.
yeah. And I mean, that song had been around for a long time. The first reading I did in 2015, where Natalie played Cosette and the Baroness and Susie,
Triple threat.
but it was called Does She See Me? And then Jordan Tyson sang it in one of the last full readings before we went to La Jolla, and then they cut it. But it's a
It's a
Cherie,
banger.
Cherie, all my eyes blue or gray. Yeah, it was a really good song. It was a banger.
We just need you to make a list of all the songs that have been lost, and then we will request them one by one over time.
I will. There was
Can you
another
tell
one called Drive that Tamara did. That was like, she was in the car and she was
Just like
trying, yeah, yes, yes. But yeah, there's so many.
well, every time you think of one, just pop it in our DMs.
Okay.
Anyway,
So
I know
yeah,
you have a heart out soon.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's a sleeper call. You just
Yeah.
and everyone's just like,
You say it in public. You say it
Yes.
in people.
It's my
Mhm.
babe.
Thanks
Agreed.
for spilling tea with us. It's not
Oh
even tea.
my gosh. This was
Yapping.
so nice and so fun. Thank you for having me on Serious Pipi Time.
Serious PP time with Eden Espinosa.
Equally as enjoyable.
Aw.
we didn't
Yeah.
talk about hearts this time, but
It's okay. There's always time.
Yeah. We're still besties, I assume.
Yeah, I mean,
Great. I don't
is,
know. It'd be crazy if you were
I
like,
mean,
actually,
do we breathe air?
please.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course, always. Thank
We love
you.
you.
Love you. Thank you for still being interested in our show and wanting to know more about it.
Well, we will forevermore. So
Thank you.
get ready.
Good to see you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.